जय जय नायक जन सुखदायक प्रणत पाल भगवंता गोद्रिज हितकारी जय सुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रिय कंता पालन सुर धरनी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करऊ अनुग्रह सोई करऊ अनुग्रह सोई जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिवासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ अघारी चिंता हमारी जानिय भगत न पूजा जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मन रंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन वच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी सरल सकल सुर जूथा सरन सकल सुर जूथा सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जा कहु कोई न जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवउ सो श्री भगवाना भव बारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिवासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
I'm going to come to Avital. She hardly raises her hand, so I want to give her first preference.
Hello. Hello, Father. Ananta-ji, thank you.
Very welcome, very welcome.
Father, about not lying, a couple of weeks ago you said not to lie.
Yeah.
The person here has long tried not to lie and to tell the truth, but it's come mostly from fear and a need to. It's been like a safety mechanism to defend myself, and I would like it to be that it comes from a real maturity and understanding and devotion.
Yes. 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 Very beautiful topic, and we've been contemplating also this topic in terms of even children have a sense not to lie. Where does that come from? There's an inherent, even a child feels like they're doing something wrong if they're lying, even if their parents, if the child's parents are not upset, and still if that happens, they feel that. So just to be in integrity with the audience of one, that is what is important. To be in integrity with that, to allow his will to unfold, because the feeling of constriction, the feeling of cringiness when we are doing something which is opposed to his will is apparent for most of us now. So you just have to go with that sense within, and that will guide you to unfold in that way. Like, so otherwise you said that the person has long tried to not lie, and then if the person is trying, then it becomes all mixed up in so many different ways. But make this a part of our servitude to God, that we may lie and we may convince the one in front of us in the world, but how is our heart climate? How is our inner climate as we are doing that? What is the fragrance that we are spreading in our heart temple when we take that particular action? So if you keep your eyes on that, what is your inner fragrance like, then the right action will unfold. So it is not really so much about an outer expression and what is the right way to behave or not, but just allowing the sanctity of your heart temple to remain unsullied by anything that makes it sullied with dirt in some way. So that is the pointing, more or less.
Can I give you an
Yes.
example?
Yes.
A while ago, I bought a gift to take overseas with me, but then I wasn't able to travel. So I want to post the gift to my family. They requested it.
Yes.
And if I put the right value, the correct value of the
Yes.
gift,
Yes.
then they may have to pay a lot of money
Yes.
at the other end.
I see. Customs.
And even if I offer to pay for it,
Yes.
they will be outraged that I'm so stupid that I don't know how to play by the proper human rules, and that I'm very naive, and why do I have to make problems
Yes.
by yeah.
I understand. It's almost like strangely, actually, My father used to tell me that I'm extra ethical. Yeah,
That you what?
that there's ethical and then there's me, which is extra ethical. So he used
Extra.
to say that we don't have to be too much also. So I didn't agree with him, of course, at that point. But what to do in these situations? They seem so tricky. You see? So one time, what happened is it's reminding me of this story. I hope you won't mind this digression. But so what happened one time is that some of my colleagues at work, we were running this health center for children in the urban slums. So over there, we decided that we should really do something about corruption, and we should agree that we will never bribe anyone, pay any money to anyone. So we said, okay, we'll even wear like wristbands saying no corruption. You see, we'll do all of that. So what happened is that this colleague of mine who used to work with me, so there were 4, 5 of us who said yes, we promise never to pay a bribe. So with this one, what had happened is that her scooter bike, in India we have these like mini motorbikes like Vespas. I don't know if you know them. So when she was in college, her bike got stolen. And then she went to America for further studies. But that court case, so the police surprisingly caught the thief, and they got the bike returned to her, which is a rarity itself. So by God's grace, that happened. So that the thief was in prison, and by the time she came back and she was working with us, there was a court case going on against the thief who was in prison. And what happened is that uh, his lawyer demanded to see the bike as evidence. Now, when this child had gone to America to study, her family sold the bike. They just disposed of it, just sold it off. So then, the one who was supposed to be fighting the case on her behalf, the public prosecutor, said that, oh, you've disposed of evidence that is unlawful, and you better give me some money, so otherwise this is going to become big trouble. You see? And so it was so strange that the prosecutor, the lawyer on her side, which is supposed to be fighting the case for her, is demanding a bribe from her to not get his own client into trouble because of this bike issue. So in that moment, we paid the money. We paid him some. That in those days, we paid him some 1,000, 2,000 rupees, and then we were just looking at each other saying, what happened to our resolution? What happened to our intention to not ever pay? So life sometimes gives us these very, very difficult situations. You see, so but now what I would do now, this was of course many, many, many years ago. What I would like to do now is just be good in my heart, to be true in my heart that I'm good with my father and I'm not doing anything which is displeasing to him. And we must be careful not to make that as an excuse and say, oh, this is how it is inside, that's why you see like that. We must never make up things about what is happening inside of us, because I feel like that is to put on God that which was not how it played out, and that can never be good for ourselves and others that are involved. You see, so you have to check in with your heart and allow that to guide you without rushing to conclusions, without saying that, without just mentally saying that this is what God wants and I'm following His will. That's why I'm emphasizing on this inner climate, because that's what happens with children also, that their inner climate changes when they've done something wrong. They realize it inwardly, you see. So pay attention to your inner climate and see what is going on over there, and allow that to play out, and this will change Like there's no, I can't give you a solution that will apply to everyone saying next time you send a inter-country, courier, then you can lie or you can you can say that the value is lower than it actually is and things. And you see, because that may not be always appropriate, and there may be times where you're faced with something so obnoxiously silly that everybody, including the authorities, expect you to, just lie about it or something. So, what is the way to do that? So, neither the categorical imperative nor the idea, the universal benefit principle, is just God's will, truly with integrity. In the world, it can seem very convenient to say, oh, but it is God's will, God wants me to do this, but never use that which seems like a short term fix because it's big trouble in the long term. So, truly, and if the answer is not clear, just wait, never rush into it, and allow His will to unfold. You can try this, and sometimes you may end up doing something which will seem very silly to the world, but we have to get used to looking silly to the world. That's why in India we have a big contrast between the way of Ram and the way of Krishna. Yeah? And as a child, I said that I will never follow Krishna because he just broke all the rules, he didn't play by the rules, and I can't follow someone like that. I have to follow Ram. But the dharma itself becomes what Krishna wants from you, and that is also the message of the Gita. So, first to meet God's presence within ourselves and then allow that to unfold truly is our true dharma, is our true job, is our true way of life. So then the personal intervention goes away, or whatever is left to the person is just a humble servant of God. And the only way in which the person is not causing more trouble in the world is in servitude to God. Huh? Yeah. Yes, it's our compass, internal compass that we've been talking about. That, and you'll notice that the mind rushes you to not look at that, pushes you to not look at that and to rush into solutions, either because they seem mentally correct or because that's what the world wants of you, or even if you want to be rebellious, and you have a mental position about being rebellious or something like that. But none of those apply. And that's why the beautiful stories of Abraham, of Arjuna, there are so many stories in all cultures where we come to this point of surrender to His will, because in some cases, morality, ethics, all of that seems to be contrary to God's will. In some cases, the law may seem to be contrary to God's will. I mean, the human law may be contrary to God's will. So, faith means to trust that higher than everything else. And your inner fragrance, your inner temple atmosphere will always keep giving you a sense of this. of what God wants, of what is His will. So what is Maya's job? Maya's job is to convince you that we don't have to look there. You see? You don't have to look inside. It is so clearly right in the world, or it is so clearly wrong in the world. So don't turn over there. You see? And the other way that Maya works, especially in spirituality, like when I started spirituality with the first Sangha that I was in, people used this as an excuse to get anything done. So anybody would say, and thankfully I have not experienced that for so long, but when I first started my spirituality, I was in a very large Sangha, so we would have this Seva projects and so many things. So everybody would say, but Guruji has told me, but Guruji has told me. Guruji said to tell this one to get this done, you see. And that kind of lie we should never make, you see. Especially to say the Guru has told you or God has told you. But of course, that was in naivety that everyone would say that, because because a non-hierarchical system is very difficult to get things done in. So everybody would use that excuse to say that Guruji said just do this. So there were times that people with contradictory sort of directions would both say, "Oh, Guruji has told you to do this." So I said, "Okay, really, both." Yeah. So we must not use that in any way whatsoever, because the sanctity of your heart temple is built brick by brick like this. Brick by brick, you build your inner sanctity so that God's presence becomes more and more present there. His light is more and more shining there. So whatever we are confused about, whatever we are worried about, we can take it to our heart. We can offer it in our heart temple, in His presence. That's why I feel it's such a beautiful contemplation that came to me. I was listening to something on YouTube and I probably heard it over there. Someone said, what is better? Is it better for me to talk to you about God or talk to God about you? And I'm realizing more and more that talking to each other about God is mostly futile. But talking to God or praying to God for ourselves and for all of us is much more helpful. Because when we talk to ourselves mostly we are involved in the realm of reason. But it takes faith to commune with God and to trust God to provide the solution. Is it a bit warm? Was it cold or warm? Actually, Pratna took some good notes on this, the heart temple, and we talked about it last time. Was it the last satsang or the satsang before that?
Last satsang, Father.
Last. So how to approach our life, what must become our way of life, and if we keep the centrality of our life about the holiness, His holy presence in our heart, then how life can be much simpler than our mind makes it out to be. Are you all getting a sense of this? Like when I say this inner fragrance, this inner, but for that you need to detach from the outer. Right?
Father, this feeling of maybe whatever which is not right, like as a person, whatever you feel that becomes predominant in certain situation, and you just feel something is not okay because something is from inside pushing to do that, and something is not letting it
Yes.
happen also.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. So this is beyond feeling, like
it's
what we
not.
usually
It's not.
call
I'm just
feeling.
saying feeling, but
Like
it
you
is
get a sense
yeah,
of disconnection
disconnection.
or a sense of being lit up. But this light is also not perceivable, or it's just very primordially perceivable. So follow that innermost sense.
Father, can I say
Because feelings can be very up and down.
not feeling, but I am not just terming them
Yeah,
feel as a
sure.
feeling. Like there's a sense of control. That's what I see in very subtle things. Like I'm talking to Marisha or saying something, and it is exposing in itself in the situation, or maybe other is not feeling, but something here it is getting exposed that, and it's seen, and uh, it's not happening, but it is to let go. It is the calling. It's to this is not okay. Something is not okay about it, or anything like that. Sometimes something comes up. Sometimes something comes up.
Tell me about your day, like a usual day, not just that day.
Usual day, I just open my eyes and I listen to satsang first thing, like either Guruji or whatever, something. And sometimes I again sleep while listening, and I wake up and again I listen. Then we just get up and have normal water and listen to some bhajans. Yeah, and then as usual
So
to
you
do
leave
the
your bed after ensuring that God's presence is palpable?
yeah. I mean, I get that reminder. Father said, don't even get up from the bed
Yeah.
if you are from getting up from the mind, or
Yeah.
sometimes it happens and the day is like boomed.
And of course, it's not fully literal. You can
Yeah, but it's like at
you can
least
use the
centered
restroom, or
and
you can. It's not that literal or pointing, but basically, don't engage with the world till
yeah,
you come to God's presence.
and it feels, Father, it's like you're off. I'm off. Then
Yes.
it's I feel I'm off track, kind of thing completely.
Okay, then you came to God's presence and your day started then.
Then some engagement happens and I forget.
But what is your intention throughout
to
the
come
day?
back. To come back.
To come back to presence,
Presence.
organically, or?
No, to again, it's just a feel like if it has gone too heavy and suddenly you realize that I've engaged too much or I've invested, I've gone, like I've lost myself in the.
But what is the tool you're trying to use to remain in God's presence?
I mean, I just become aware. Suddenly there's something comes up, like there's some heaviness, there's something happens.
So, what I'm hearing is that you're waiting for a symptom of being caught up in Maya, and then you return.
Generally, it happens, Father. Most of the time, it happens, but it's now conscious is like if I have to engage also. I said, okay, I can't do it right now. I said, do a prayer in that moment only. So if there's some internal prayer. I don't know how to
You're
do.
getting pressurized to
No,
give
Father,
the
it's
right
like,
answer. So,
no, it's not the right answer. This is how it is. It goes like
so
that, Father.
it can be that our job as servants of God, as children of God, is to remain in His light unceasingly, keep the focus on Him nirantar, you see, unceasingly. So you may remain in inquiry, open and empty all the time, you may pray all the time, but the point is that we may do a japa, or you may ask yourself, who am I? Whatever the tools you have heard in satsang, that must become your constant companion. You see? And we must not get to the point itself where, I mean, ideally, of course, all of us will, where we already caught up and our buttons are pushed and everything has happened, and then we want to return. So we must remain as much as possible in God's light. So as you start your day, your intention must be that this entire day is for God. This entire life is for God, and this unit of this life, which is this day, is offered to God, belongs to Him, may be in service to Him, and allow everything to unfold uh, by yourself being present to His presence. Because He is right there. So don't wait for to get caught up and then for some nudging to come, for some slap to come to return. You have to stay like that. And whether you're using the inquiry or whether you're using remaining empty or whether you're using the japa, use it so that it becomes nirantar. God's focus, the focus on God has to become unceasing.
So sometimes there is a strong resistance, Father, for that also. Well, there are
It
moments
doesn't
where.
matter. So, um, we've had these conversations many times where you know in your heart that you want to follow what you're hearing in satsang. So you also know that in response to what you're hearing in satsang, what is the mind going to do? It's going to resist.
Resist
You
that.
see? So then we must let go of the temptation to check on, okay, now as I'm hearing this, what is the mind doing?
Of the checking of the
It's
mind.
like, okay, now, so there's a strong resistance. And we've been looking at this, all of us together, and see, when we say that, no, I just want to expose that there is strong resistance, I just want to expose, you see, it is mostly because some propensity for belief into that is there.
Yeah, yes.
You see? So just don't get involved. Whatever the mind may be saying, let it say. So in fact, the only guidance to all of you is to remain in God's light. Otherwise, life is wasted. The moment where God is not the intention, God is not the focus, God is not the insight, God is not being loved, that moment is wasted. It's a dead moment. Okay? So don't have a life where it's mostly dead, 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 and then moments of light. Have mostly light, 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 moments of this Maya and death. So try out with the tools, though that which seems most natural to you for you to be anchored in this. It's for everyone. We must surrender our life completely to God, and moment to moment we must let go of the false, because the mind, the Maya, has a trick every moment. The mind will scare you, of course, and say, how will this happen? It's too difficult. How will I manage at work? How will I manage? See, it'll all happen. You start climbing the staircase, the end will come. See, but if you just keep waiting.
That's how the decision was made, Father. Because I mean, after I spoke to you, still when I went back, it's like, oh, this doesn't seem practical.
Yeah.
This is how this will happen. Then it's like all that spiral down. And then I said, okay. I remembered you saying, how much time do you have? I said, oh my God, now I have my almost this 47 years, 8 years gone. How much time I have?
Exactly.
And this will continue this only for another 20 years. Nothing great will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are you to say, okay?
To remind ourselves that we don't have time is very helpful, and also that if you're in like a place where you can be in satsang more often, that is when you'll be able to devote your life to God. Otherwise, we'll spend most of our life.
Yeah, the engagement outside is too strong, and you just slip and you don't even. I mean, I don't even realize that. And then again, it becomes like come back.
Yeah.
It has to be other way
Yes.
around.
We'll talk more about this maybe also. That I'm not getting a good sense of what is the mechanism you're hoping to use to remain with him throughout the day.
I pray for them. Yes.
Constantly.
I mean, like I constantly say, most of the time, I would just pray in the sense, I don't know how to do this. This is too strong a Maya. I'm getting caught in this. I don't know how to. You
But
take
this
over.
would happen how many times a day?
Couple of times a day.
Couple. So we'll talk more and see how we can be anchored in his life throughout. So for me, it's sounding more and more like curative medicine right now.
Yeah,
See,
maybe
which
you
means
can
that once the infection is there, then what do I do to
cure
cure it?
that. Yeah.
So we'll give you some preventative medicine. I feel like that is better because we must go beyond the curative technique, because the curative technique is just like self-help process. It's not really a process of surrendering this life to God, of belonging to God.
Sometimes I feel, Mother, I'm not even. I mean, nothing will happen. My life will
You'll
go
die
waste.
without.
Yeah, not.
That's why I've been so strong with to
I have this,
find
sometimes
more space for satsang in your life.
feel strongly like that. And that scares me then.
It scares me. The mind doesn't want you to commit to a life of God.
Yeah.
So what would be a good start date? To commit to a life of God, what would be a good start date? I would say a good start date would have been at our birth. But since that is not possible,
Now,
it's already, you see, today is not too late, but tomorrow will be. Must imbibe this more deeply. And to remain with him, to remain in his light will also pave the way for how life outwardly will unfold in that. We keep waiting for the outer to fix itself so that we can focus on the inner, but the outer will never fix itself in that way. Only when you're with the inner can the outer be healed, be fixed. So we have to live our life in God's presence, not just thinking that we are living a spiritual life. This is the main thing I want to talk to all of you about. So sometimes what may happen is that we report that which happens at the like the at the level of very deep hypnosis. Okay? At there are no levels like that, but suppose so says but then I realize at that point that I'm truly stuck, or something like that. So then as I hear the report, I get a sense that this is like already into level 3, level 4 of the hypnosis. You see? Because first the temptress will come, the temptress being Maya. It will put something in front of you, it will give you some thoughts, you see? It will start to tempt you in like that. You see? If you just remain with God, that's your only protection. To remain in His presence, then it doesn't seem that tempting. You see? So it could be some temptation of relationship, it could be a temptation of some pleasure, it could be the temptation of some fun, it could be the temptation of whatever. And it offers you that. And then, or the temptation to be right, temptation to make a point, or temptation to be seen, temptation. There's so many temptations that we experience every day. So now, if you get used to living in the temple, your heart temple, then most of these will get lighter and lighter, may not have that much of a pull. Now, if you get involved in that, then the mind says, okay, 2 plus 2 equals 4, then you get involved with the 4, then it says, okay, now you better do this, now you better do that. And then, like, after a long time, then you realize that you're actually getting trapped and more stuck. You see? So if your reports will have that kind of sense, that kind of gives me a sense that are we living with the intention to focus completely on God moment to moment? And is that intention being followed up by application of a tool which you learn in Satsang? And how are you doing in the application of that tool to remain in God's presence? You see? So that you can deepen every moment of your life to build your spiritual life, build your true spiritual wealth. That should be the attempt. So I'm happy also to hear if your report is that I'm trying to do the prayer, I'm trying to do the EDS, or I'm doing this inquiry, I'm trying to just remain in the presence, whatever we are using. But this is what the mind is trying to pull me into. Okay? So then we will look at those specific cases. But I feel like sometimes you children are already going too far into the mind and then beating a retreat from that deeply embedded sort of from those deeply embedded hypnosis rather than. So find yourself in God's presence in your heart altar, no matter what is going on the outside. And whether that translates into being with the sense of I amness, whether it is to remain as awareness itself, not identify with anything, whether you call it open and empty, whether you call it being with the sense I am, it doesn't matter. As long as the focus, intention and focus both are on God, you're fine. Yeah? Now you sit over there, inward facing, antarmukhi sadasukhi. So you sit over there inward facing. Let the world play on. You don't get shaken from there. That is the intention. All of us will get shaken, and that's why we have satsang. But that is the project. Now, what is Maya's job? Maya's job is to give you something which will say, no, for this I have to be involved, I have to get into this thing, I have to, you see, take it personally, all of that. The instant you've taken it personally, you see, you've left that holy place in your heart, because you can't take anything personally and remain there. You see? Only thing personally is how am I serving God, if at all we can call that personally, you see? Or how am I loving God? You see? So can we try, like right now in satsang, your eyes can be open, because you get into trouble mostly in the world when you're engaging with eyes open, and but with your inner eyes be with God, antarmukhi, be inward facing, independent of what's happening in front of your eyes. Yes. Okay, shall we just try this 2 minutes and then? So just let's try. Pure perception can happen. To be inner facing doesn't necessarily mean attention has to be used. In the intention to be inward facing, sometimes you will find that attention gets withdrawn from the world and you become inner facing like that with the attention also. But that is not a requirement. Yeah? Straightforward. God is with you or no? Yes? No? Something. Everybody is being very zen. Right? Huh? You had a thing about this? You had a report about this? Your report was about this?
It was going to be a follow-on related to this.
I had just on what you said, I think the way I feel is that if I'm not doing anything, it's fine. If I then have to, do some work or socially engage or whatever, then the intensity of the feeling of being centered in words is so strong. There's so many, in the being, there's just so many sensations dissolving, all kinds of, you're trying to feel. It's just so it's not a passive experience. It's intense feelings that I'm not able to. It's a solitude activity. I can default to it, but if I have to do some work or talk on the phone, or then I can't sustain both simultaneously. I mean, I can sustain a feeling of it, but not the the full experience where it's like even your body, the sensations start to melt and all this stuff is going on, which is I try not to dwell on it because but there's a lot of intense, sometimes you feel like your head is going to get blown off right by the intensity of the burning inside and all this stuff. So,
but more important is when there is engagement outside. You can keep the mic for a moment. So when there is engagement happening on the outside and all this beauty doesn't seem to be apparent, then what is the tool you're trying to use to remain in the truth or remain in God's presence?
So in my case, it's basically the open and empty process. So, which is
Yes. So are you reminding yourself of the pointer every couple of minutes, every few
Yeah,
minutes?
so it's like basically so the presence, and then asking myself who's witnessing,
Yeah, exactly.
and then also asking myself that the body is, I know the body is sort of coming and going, and then the presence is more stable, and the witness is even more stable. So I try to ask, and then I keep asking myself sort of, uh, where am I? Where could I be to
Yes,
be
very good. So
witnessing?
once you ask, the asking is beautiful. So if you ask yourself, who am I?
Yeah.
See, then it's very difficult to take anything personally or to get involved or identify with the world. So then how long does the effect of that last?
Um,
Usually, like it's difficult to say precisely.
it sustains until I believe some thought and get into,
Yes, yes.
you
But how
know,
long you in your life experience?
yeah.
How long? And because what I'm going to suggest is that get a sense of that time and remind yourself to ask yourself who you are every 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it takes,
Okay.
so that you don't get into that mode at all, where then your life becomes like the sharing of satsang, where in the sharing of satsang, the one who's sharing is inward facing, but it seems to be that they are engaged in outer activity. You see? So your entire life will become a satsang then. So then the same theme in a way that don't wait for things to get in trouble before you return to your inquiry, before you return to your open humanity or your prayer, whatever you're using. Uh, and just, you may forget, you may say, I'll remind myself every 5 minutes, but it may be full hour went off and something was going on. But then you still remind yourself, at least the intention is there to return and clearly, and then it will deepen more and more. Then you will find that you don't leave this place unless you're really something very strong seems to be happening in the world to get you to leave. You see? So to be present to God's presence then becomes more and more natural to us. And the more you immerse yourself in this, the more natural it will seem. More natural it will seem.
So that's been happening naturally, and it's just there's this feeling of gratitude for this grace, because earlier on I've tried doing it, it's been very hard, but now it's happening. So there's this just humble gratitude that thank you that grace is happening, and there's this almost thing that it may go anytime, so let me just be calm about it. But that being said, like what I wanted to ask is, in pure perception, like you've said and we've experienced, A, there is no problem, B, even if Maya is trying, there's an ability to stay at bay. But what happens when I see something that I'm calling beautiful, and it's maybe very subjective? Let's take a simple thing like a shoe. I see this pair of shoes and it's like, oh, it's beautiful. And that's it. There's may not be a desire to own it or want it or ruminate about it.
Yes.
Or I might look at the mountain range and it's like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So that Nama Rupa does happen, and it happens all the time. Like I can't, or I should say, I've not tried even to stay so much in pure perception that that wonderment also gets dropped. But that's a dangerous place for me, and that's where my question is coming is, I meet a woman and she's inspiring, has great attitudes, beautiful, everything that I might look for in a partner. And it's been 3 years now, and there is a lot of internal stability to not get derailed. But it happens. In that moment, I recognize it, come back into presence, and life goes on beautifully. So far, it's not been a problem, but I can't guarantee that it won't. And what I mean by that is, am I now engineering myself in some way to be so much in God's presence that maybe a different way to ask the question is any situation where I feel attraction for a woman is destined for Maya to basically take over me and the whole drama begins again? And maybe it's not an easy question to answer, but that crosses my mind, is where the question is coming from.
Yes. So I feel I've got this question a bit in the last couple of weeks. So don't worry, you're in a lot of company asking this question. So the question, let's try to simplify. Let's try to simplify it first. The question really is, are all romantic relationships or even physical relationships opposed to God's will, and are they all to be considered as temptations from Maya and therefore inauspicious and to be let go of? That is the question at the fundamental. Yeah. So, no, I feel like to follow this approach, which is to really check for what is God's will, and the way to check is that when you're truly empty and you're in His presence and you're allowing Him to move you, or that He guides you inwards, or that you sense your inner climate to be with the perfume of God's love and the fragrance of God's love and presence as this unfolds. You see? Now all of this we have to be very careful about, because the mind will quickly claim all of this or any of one of this, that it was God's will. I was empty only. You see, and I said, you want to go out for a coffee? You know, like that. So we have to really be, because it is not about convincing anyone else, it's about your own spiritual health, you see, to allow God's will to unfold whatever relationships have to unfold in our life, you see, and it is not automatic that you just presume that it is going to be Maya, it is going to be bad. You see? Having said that, most of the reports that I get in specific situations are very clearly temptations of Maya. You see? Very clearly temptations of Maya, where the mind is rushing, we want to do something about it, we are getting into this feverish sort of environment within, and that feverish sort of environment within itself tells you that it is not coming from God, or we are not even waiting to find out whether it is. You see, because these things, when they come, they can seem full on. So that's why that patience, that ability to just be still in spite of all of this, it can be very helpful. So no, holy relationships can be created in this way. Auspiciousness can flow in this way as well.
One guidance that's been coming, Father, and it's all due to your grace and the Sangha's grace, is I think I shared with you about maybe a year and a half ago. At that time, my biggest struggle was being alone because I never had that life. And the guidance that has been coming is first I need to stabilize in that aloneness as a positive word, not as a negative word. And until that happens, I can taste it. I can taste it. Any kind of attraction that happens is laced with the desire to fill that loneliness through another person. So that's one strong guidance that has come, and thank you for that. The other thing, and I've seen my father and mother, they were very loving relationship. And I've seen it from very close quarters. It was a very open family. It's not like they didn't have fights and all that, but the level of love was amazing. And then after my mother passed away 2 years, I thought my dad will fall apart. In a sense, he's, I would say, a typical Indian male, dependent on the woman for everything. And my mother was the dynamo of the house and so on and so forth. But he hasn't fallen apart. And so I actually kind of interviewed him 2-3 weeks ago. Like, how's it going and how are you dealing with it? And so he still is in love with her, and like when he has tea 2 times a day, he puts 1 cup for her and 1 cup for him. And he's not miserable at all in missing her. It's like a positive missing.
Yes.
So, and then he said, Beta, humne, I've changed my relationship with your mother to a spiritual relationship a long time ago, and you see all these books that I read, I'm reading all the books that she used to read, and I like to read those paragraphs that she has underlined.
Oh, sweet.
You know, so they're all of these books that we talk about. And so I see this like beautiful balance between being his spiritual partner, lover. Now she's no more also, and it's still nice. So it's really, really inspiring to see that in this lifetime. Whether I'll get it or not doesn't matter really. But yeah.
Very good. Very good. That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. Yes.
Father, I just thank you very much for your grace. So much love, so much love. And used it time and time again, and just conjuring up your image and allowing that to help me stay with the presence. I do feel I get distracted and seek the company of others, friends, and when I could be sitting with God, in God. And I wanted to surrender that to you. I also want to tell you how I try to be with God, and I feel I am doing things to be with God. I am praying. I am meditating.
You mean there's too much doership?
The effort is, I don't
In a way,
know.
that is similar to Shanti's question as well. So, go on.
So, in my love with God, Guru, teacher, saints, I will read as much as I can of anything to do with Lord, God, Guru, teacher, saint, any meditation, any wording, any YouTube thing. I will try to stay with God throughout the day in these ways. What's on gem. I don't know if it's I'm the doer and I'm doing it because I love God. I'm doing it because I love you. I'm doing it because I love the gurus, teachers, and saints. And that's where I want to be. but I don't know whether it's because I'm a doer or a distortion, or simply because I'm in love. I don't know. That is what I would like you to please guide me on. I may be just being arrogant or delusional. I don't know.
Thank you. It's a good question. So, on this spiritual project, we can do so many different things. I'm reading, I'm praying, I'm listening to bhajan, I'm doing this practice, I'm doing the inquiry, I'm staying with His presence, I'm remaining open and empty, and all of this. So, but what is important is not the activity or the doing in itself, but what is it that it ignites in our heart? What is it that it ignites in our heart? So sometimes it can happen like this, like I love reading. You've noticed that. So I love reading, and like I'm enjoying reading like simpler things now, rather than big philosophy and things. But it could become just that I'm doing it because I want to read. You see? So then it can become a convenient sort of spirituality. And God is very beautiful, merciful, and gracious, of course. So He, even with our slightest turning to Him, He makes Himself available. That's so beautiful and so gracious of Him. But that is what we must be a bit careful of. That is it becoming just because I want, or is it just the means to the end, which is the igniting of His fire in our heart? So if you're, and this must be truly true in the sense that if by reading a page on a book, or listening to a bhajan, or listening to a satsang, or going to a holy place, we find that this happens so clearly in our heart altar. His light, His presence is so palpable. The connection with Him is so deeply felt. Then it is spiritual. But if it is, the content of it is spiritual, the content of things seems spiritual, doesn't necessarily make it spiritual. You see, I could be reading the holiest book in the world, but I'm not really fully into it, or I'm just like enjoying it like mentally, not really like enjoying the word play in the book rather than the essence of what is being pointed. You see? And or reading it at just an intellectual level and not a tool to really bring us to His light, then we have to be careful of that kind of spirituality. It is just like uh, to deepen in our understanding, or to intellectually know more and to understand more conceptually. But may everything be used to bring us to spirit. That is spirituality, isn't it? Spirituality without spirit is not spirituality, even if the content is very spiritual. See? Without the holy meeting in our heart, it is not spirituality yet. It can be our attempt at spirituality. You see? So, what is our intention? Is our intention to entertain ourselves, to understand, is to intellectually progress? What is our intention? Or is our intention like a fish out of water struggling, saying, I want you, God, I want you in my heart. Why is it that I don't feel your presence? You see, this lamentation may seem like it belongs on the cross with Jesus, or it belongs in very difficult situations with David when he originally wrote it in the Psalm. But it will start to feel more and more like a moment of disconnection. You see? That a moment of selfishness can lead to a sort of like a blankness or an emptiness, not a happy emptiness, not an open and empty emptiness, but a disconnection, a contraction in the heart. And I find myself sometimes lamenting like this to him, saying, why have you forsaken me? You see? I know very well why. I know very well why. And yet sometimes you just have to plead to your father. You just have to plead to your father and say, I know it's because I have distracted myself. I have made things about me. I have not really turned towards him. I know all of these things. Sometimes you still feel like going like a tantrumy child to the father saying, Father, why have you forsaken me? So, and this may not be applicable or suitable for everyone. You just have to follow your heart as to how it goes. I'm just saying that which is applicable to everyone is to feel this sense of connection to God within yourself. Then we are being spiritual. Or if that is not happening, then to at least have the intention to have that. You see? So I can read like a book by Rumi, or a book by Kabir, or a book by Hafiz, or a book by Farid, and just marvel at the language, at the poetry. You see, everybody looking at me may say, he's being so spiritual, he's reading, or I can even read the Ramcharitmanas that way. And to read it that way is better than not reading it at all, because that also has some power. But we just have to see what is it truly for. Am I wanting to be with him? Am I wanting to surrender to him? Am I wanting to offer up every moment of my existence to him? Or has my mind made a category called spirituality, and when I do anything in that category outwardly, then I don't feel guilty that I'm not with God. And I'm not saying you're doing any of this. This is for everyone, including this one. You getting a sense of what I'm saying? You getting what I'm saying? Like we can do many things, like I'm going there, I'm going here. Again, not for you. This happens that you just came back, but I'm just saying that it's very possible to get into this kind of like an outer spirituality. And this kind of spirituality even our mind may like, because actually not coming in contact with spirit, which is what it hates. You see, there's nothing more fearful to the mind than coming in contact with the spirit. You see? So, even in the guise of spiritual experiences, it may be avoiding just meeting the spirit. You see? So, don't avoid that meeting. Use every word to taste his presence. Use every line to let the Atma guide you as to what it is showing you. If you make it an object of your understanding, it will become like conceptual knowledge again. See what I'm saying? So if you're reading a book, and we've been reading so many beautiful books lately, they can be read at so many different levels. You can read it and say, very good, it's so nice, so helpful, now I understand, very good. You see, but a holy book, especially if written by a saint or a sage, every word has been guided by the Holy Spirit, and every word can bring you in contact with Him, the Atma within. You see? So use it like that. Allow it to deepen your heart presence, for the glow of His holy light in your heart to deepen. And to remain empty of ourselves, to remain truly open and empty, which is to remain empty of ourselves, is very, very beautiful way to allow yourself to remain in His light. So none of it is contradictory, although some questions and things may seem like the mind is presenting a perspective saying, but can't I just do this? But can't I just be like that? Or can't I just be like this? We can be whatever. There's so many tools on offer in Satsang, and there's so many spiritual paths in the world. You can follow whatever, but it must lead to spirit. You see? It must lead to the deepening of the discipleship of the Atma, the Holy Spirit within. You see? Otherwise, we're just wasting time in the garb of spirituality. You see? The question fundamentally is, can God be found within yourself? You see? Can God be found within yourself? And if God can be found within yourself, what other project is worthwhile? Is my understanding worthwhile? Is my enjoying the beauty in words worthwhile? Is my whatever we may call a spiritual project worthwhile, if it is not about finding Him, being with Him?
So, what if the books that one is reading, or the effort one is making, or singing Hanuman Chalisa, whatever one is doing, what if that is just backing up a concept of I'm Bhakta? What if it's just conceptual?
That's exactly what I was pointing to, that this is what we must become vigilant about. You see, is it about I am Bhakta, or is it about God is here? Is it about I am something and I am getting better at it or worse at it? Or is it about I am His, He is here? Who does your heart belong to truly? Does it belong to the me or to God?
Is the natural joy in the name of God, in the Leela of God, in the stories of God?
Yeah.
Does that mean that can that also be service to God?
Yes, of course. Of course. It's very beautiful service to God. Very, very beautiful service to God. So,
Is that obeying God?
is that?
Is that obeying God? Is that obeying His will? I don't know.
Yes, that is what we must find out. That is what we must find out.
How?
There's it's reminding me of a very nice talk I heard by one of the sages, maybe Charles Spurgeon, but he said that there are so many things in the world which can seem to be about God. And because they're about God, it can seem like we are being spiritual or with God because things are about God. But there's a difference between it being about God and really to commit ourselves, to sacrifice ourselves to God. So even our spirituality can become an expression of my will, my way. And then it is not actually spirituality. If it seems too convenient, if it seems risk-free, if it seems only about good feelings, if it's not about confronting, if it doesn't seem like an inner wrestling match at times, yeah, then we have to question whether it's a true spirituality. Because then it's become like the just feel-good psychotherapy in the name of spirituality. Which is, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with psychotherapy. It's very good. Whoever needs psychotherapy must get it. But why call it spirituality? Spirituality is about God's presence, which is called spirit. Yeah. One second, we can. Let's go to Kesha.
Hi, Father.
Hello.
I'm sorry I keep coming up like this. I just feel so desperate these days that any moment of straying, I don't want to linger. And so, thank you. When you say, when God says that we have to offer everything, like he means literally everything.
Yes.
And it's become apparent that there are some spots that I've protected of identity that I've not included in that everything.
Exactly.
And I didn't realize it until recently. And it's not to say that actions won't happen externally, that maybe there will be some sort of advocacy. Who knows if that's his will, but it's more about the inner disconnect that can happen in that, and taking that part of my identity to be too real. And I was missing the point with that. The point is to stay with God, even within that.
Exactly.
And
Very good.
and not becoming defensive and protecting this thing, this part of the identity. He says offer everything, and so I see where that I was protecting that thing, and it's still my prayer to be cleaned completely within of all these things. It's still my intention, and it will always, I'll never stop, or I hope to never stop by his will and grace.
Very good. See, just when we offer everything to Him, it is just a correction of a misunderstanding that we have created for ourselves, isn't it? In the sense that everything already belongs to Him. So we are just correcting the mistaken belief system that we have created, that this belongs to me. So our offering it to Him is not actually providing Him anything new. It is just to recognize the mistake that we have been making, that everything in this universe and beyond already is only an appearance in His light, and therefore already belongs to Him. So in our playful, and sometimes it can seem not so playful, it can seem very difficult, but it is actually for Him a play in which that which is already His is being offered back to Him, and that is so beautiful. You see, so most of you have heard this prayer, which there's a line in the prayer which goes, "Tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera," which is a prayer also Jai Jagdish Hare, which is very popular. And what does it mean? It means Tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera means that which is yours, I am offering it back to you, because nothing actually belongs to me. Isn't it? So that, like you said, they become blind spots for us, where we say that, no, this I have to become identified with, this I have to become personal about, because this is such a thing that, so the mind gives us some offer to tell us, but this identity we cannot hand over, this we cannot really fully surrender to God. And to see that independent of what it may be about, you see, that is what really to remain in satsang means. Because anytime we are taking the world too seriously, or this body-mind identity too really, that is when we are involved in the opposite of satsang, you see, which is the, I was saying that the Hindi word for that is kusang, the opposite of satsang, or the company of that which is not worthy for us, which is not worthwhile for us. See, bad company. To put it simply, to take the world to be real is bad company, and to remain with God is good company. So,
Yeah.
and no matter what the
No
situation may
matter
be,
what.
no matter what the
Well,
circumstance may be,
that's it. That was it. That's it. That's the key that kind of really hit home when you said, like, in, you know, the grace of the guru, and you said turn inward, face inward towards God, like something so simple like that, and in the immediacy of it, and then these things could be seen, like, it was a good way to check, like, that I was disconnecting myself from God by taking this thing to be so important to defend. And I was like, okay, maybe that will happen externally, but internally, where is God? Like, internally, maybe externally, there could be this play of all of this stuff, and that's fine, but I wasn't internally facing inward in that moment.
and the beautiful thing to notice in this is that as we turn inward towards Him, see, what is the identity of that one who is turning inward?
Here is it.
To be present to His presence. To be present to His presence is the same as to turn inwards. So His presence is the I am. There is actually no other I over there, and yet it seems like we can turn towards the sense of presence of I am. You see? That identityless one then merges with, more and more comes into union with that holy presence.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful contemplation that if I'm turning towards my own presence, then who is turning? Huh? So presence is ever shining, isn't it? You see? But are we
Yes.
always present to presence?
No, Father.
No, we are mostly present to the world,
No.
isn't it? So then if presence is that one, then who is going to become present to presence? And yet we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So these are very beautiful, amazing, sublime, intuitive insights.
It's beautiful to ask that contemplation, because there's really no answer to it.
Yes,
Can't really find one when you ask.
exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes the mind will try to create a visual of, may visualize like a heart altar or a temple, and then say I have turned inward, so it may put our body there, which is all right. It's not the worst thing we can do, but that is not the turning inward that I'm speaking of. It's not the turning inward that I'm speaking of. It's not a visualization. It is the actual capability of faith to turn ourselves within, you see, and keep ourselves there, even though our attention may be so involved with the world.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the Indian sages would never have said this line, which is Antarmukhi Sada Sukhi, which means the one who turns inwards is always content, is always peaceful.
Yeah. The most beautiful reminder is too that when you turn inward, like trying to deal with these seeming problems and come to a solution, or like just ruminating over it, and then you say turn inward, face God, it's like it's all corrected in that moment. Like it doesn't need
Beautiful,
to.
because it's like, how do I put it in words? Don't visualize too strongly, because this will also become a visual. So, but if the snake starts to eat his own tail, you see, then what happens is that it becomes more and more centered in itself. So this process of turning inwards, being present to the presence, is that you see, it's just, so the circle keeps getting smaller and smaller. That's as far as words can go to just give us a sense of what is going on. Because many times our Advaita understanding, our Advaita knowledge will say, but present to presence? You see, presence is the only present. So then, of course, our ability to be present to presence is also the same snake, the same mouth or tail of the snake. You see, but that capability we have. It's not really a capability, it's just more of a functioning of faith, a functioning of. Another way to look at this is to say, okay, suppose that my eyes are closed, okay, my attention is just not focused anything anywhere in particular, but I say to you, I'm fully present with you right now. What is that capacity in me to be present with you in that way? That same capacity we make present with God's presence. And it's not, I'm not at all saying that His presence is separate in any way, because that I amness is what it is. But once you, like it's two mirrors facing each other, you see, but actually it's just one mirror that's folded like that. So I don't know how to explain this to in words, you see, but I feel like that snake and eating its own tail is a good one.
You know, when you first said the snake eating its tail, I actually saw it as like also can be a visual for the mind when you get into that, stuck into in that trying to fix things and get in that, then you are eating, you're in the serpent's eating its tail.
I hear you, I hear that.
Yeah.
And the beauty of this process is that as you're present to presence, as you turn inwards to Him, then that mind also gets eaten up, everything gets eaten up.
Yeah.
You don't need to look for solutions outside of God, solutions outside of Atma, outside of Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
for anything at all.
Yeah. You don't see it until until you do face inward, that you don't, it's not as easily detected, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's blind spots.
Yeah.
That's why it's blind spot. You all getting a sense of what I'm saying? Like to the mind, it's unfathomable. How to be with God's presence, what does that sentence even mean? Like Maharaj said, we must always remain with the sense I am. But the sense I am is presence, is being present. Then to be with the sense I am means, is there another I am which will be with the sense I am? No, it isn't. But can we be with the sense I am? We can. So that is that holy merging which is happening of Ganga within the Ganga, of the snake eating itself, of the mirror, which is one mirror actually, just reflecting onto itself. And as it reflects onto itself, it gets more and more detached from the things of Maya, things of the world, and remains in that constant deepening. And then Maya is designed to bring us out of that focus, bring us out of that deepening, because it gets threatened, the mind gets threatened by this deepening.
Father, can I kind of ask something that came up? Like when we go through this cleaning, inner cleaning, it's almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably will be, but like these old tendencies have to come up and actually play out. And for us to get involved a little bit enough to be like, oh, it's like part of the cleaning somehow that, because I don't know, I wouldn't have seen it unless it had played out and I had believed it for a minute and gone through that cleaning and choosing him despite that.
So, yes, it does happen. A lot of things have to play out in our life in this way, where we say, oh, I still have this, oh, I still have this temptation still is seeming true to me, this mind offering still seems irresistible to let go of. You see, so many things have to come that way. But as we remain in this, there are so many more things which actually just go from us without us even realizing.
Yeah.
So the cleaning is happening both ways. Outwardly, things are coming up, and we can't even really say, although it's tempting to say, that the biggest things also show up outwardly, and it seems like a outer and inner. You see, both ways. It's tempting to say, but there's no way for us to actually say that. Maybe the biggest things he just takes care of for us, and then the smallest things he's like, okay, play with this. While I'm doing the cleanup work, like the mother is giving the baby a bath, and he gives them some rattle or something. The real bath is happening. Yeah, so you don't really know. You see? I feel like the big stuff he just takes care of, and the small things he says, okay, you need something to keep yourself busy with, so I'm going to give you this.
Oh, that's stupid. Yeah, please, Father, just, continue like this cleaning and humbling and humble and no matter what, even if it's uncomfortable for the false one, like I just don't want it to just stop and get comfortable.
Eric. So, sometimes it's also good to have this approach with the mind saying, I'm going to George Bush this one, but fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If you have that, I didn't George Bush it. So we can have this approach. No? So that's why I say make it more and more difficult for your mind to trouble you. Once it tells you something, okay, we bought the story, we get caught into it, it seems so real, okay? But then strengthen in your resolve, saying, I've seen this where it goes, I've seen this merry-go-round, I've ridden this ride, I'm not buying the ticket again, I'm not getting on again. Okay? So then you will see that the mind actually very primitive, very limited. It just offers the same stuff. And have this faith, because I'm telling you, you can do it like this.
Just not get on before, just not get on
Just not
before.
as much as you can, but if you get on once, that's fine. You see, the mind came up with a major trick. It's something really compelling. You see, but once you have spotted it, then make it really difficult to get on the second time. Because you know where it's going. You know where it's going. All of us know where it goes. You see? So like that. You see? Okay, so second time. Then third, make it impossible. You see? Just don't. Like that. Then no. Then you see that the mind runs out of its capabilities. Its capabilities are very limited actually. Of course, it can at times seem so subtle, so smart, so intelligent, so tricky. But when faced with a challenge like this, somebody who doesn't fall for the same trick of the mind twice, then it has no chance. No chance. How many tricks will it come up with? You see? So if you look back at our lives, we see that we keep falling for the same stuff again and again, and that's why it seems so difficult. But as you stay like that, the mirror facing each other, being present to God's presence, you see that the strength will also come from that. The strength will also come from that. Because once you get used to just the holy water of His presence in your heart, then what is the mind going to offer you? What is going to say? So it's a virtuous cycle, virtuous circle in this way. The deeper your resolve, the easier to be with His presence. The more you be with His presence, the more the strength to deepen your resolve. So just all of it is like this.
Yeah, I feel more and more too that before in the past I would try to resolve it on my own and then just end up in a pit of resentment. But these days it feels so important to come to you, Father, in this way. And when there's any sign of any of this, like just to come to you, and because I don't know, like I just didn't allow myself to do that before, and I really need your help, you know.
Yes, yes. And don't feel that you're coming up too often. I don't sense that you're coming up too often. So, yes, make use of this time.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know when it will be over, you know, when it will be the last satsang or something, you know.
Yes, I also don't know.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. Okay, quickly let's look at the other two questions, and because it's time for our reading also. Let's go to Divan.
Hi, Master. Thank you. Well, thank you for like this simplicity that you've made, like the simple way of like pointing out something. It's like you just capture like everything in just like few words. So thank you so much. Um, yesterday was really, it's been a long time I actually felt like this like inner struggle. Like it was really strong, and it was very like a reminder to not be complacent, because um it was really like the first time, like maybe for like a year, that I really felt like the sense of disconnection, like from
Yeah,
God. And like you were saying, I was like saying like, Father, why are you forsaking me? Although I knew like
yeah,
the
exactly.
thing. And I just wanted to really to leave this like tendency of perfection at your feet. Honestly,
yes.
Master. I just want to leave this tendency of like this. I don't know. Like, the first time I wrote to you, I told you about this tendency. Um, it's it's like somewhere so deep in me. This tendency is there. Like because we currently have exams right now. I actually have an exam after this, but there's this thing. Although like I always feel like the grace of God and in like every aspect of my life has blessed me, especially with this recognition and coming to you. Like it's like every layer of my existence has been blessed by this, you know, by this living reality and this holy water you speak about. It has been blessed by this, but still, like I still see like yesterday I was really struggling because
Yeah.
I could see that the old self, because I told you that like the year before I didn't go because I didn't go to like school or anything. I was just at home,
Yeah. Yeah.
just mainly so but I see that there's still this seed, like there's this seed of like maybe like the idea about myself before like being transformed or something.
Yeah.
Like there's some like the seed of maybe like perfection, maybe in like academics or something like this. It's still there. And it's I really because it's like I was holding the name of God in my heart even while I was writing the exam I'm doing. But there's like something that wants, I don't know, like of claiming to know something or this kind of thing,
Mm.
or like to, I don't know how to really explain it, but I just honestly felt in my heart to just come and to leave it at your feet because
Very,
it's
very.
it's really like I'm listening to you today. I still felt like the light of the spirit very strong again. I'm so grateful for it. Thank you so much.
Very good. Very. I pray that any desire to be seen, any desire to be noticed as good or perfect outwardly, may that be transformed into an inner perfection. May that be transformed into a perfect love in your heart, a perfect peace, a perfect joy, and may you follow His will, which is the only perfection, and not the mind's ideas of being right or perfect in any way. All my love, all my blessings. Okay, let's go to Bodhi.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, my
Thank
dear.
you. Uh, from the beginning of the satsang, it was pretty difficult to concentrate or even to stay in a satsang. There was something like trying to stop me, but the heart is burning so much, that it just didn't ask for permission any outer conditioning.
Yes.
Because I'm of God,
Very good. Very good.
and He's my home. He's my safety, and that. And this all was triggered a few days ago. It will not be long. I don't know how to speak about that. I joined a company of people from the past I used to be very close to. And it felt there like I wasn't vigilant enough. Like Papaji says, just be vigilant till your last breath. So I had an experience what this sentence means. And it actually felt like I was acting from the past program under the pressure of the people who surrounded me. Not with bad intention, but I'm totally in a different place. And the judgment was just so strong. And, Father, I just have this, if I may say that, like I feel like I feel like Jesus when he was attacked by his own priests. Or when Yogiji was in Tiruvannamalai and people were just beating him up, and Sri Ramana had the same. Not that I'm comparing this being with them, but the source is the same, And after I left this, it was actually I was locked in on the train with these people and locked in a room. There was no escape.
Yes.
I ended up. I told them I just replaced people with God, and they were asking me questions about Guruji, and I was just it was just coming up, like how I cherish these satsangs with you and Guruji, but what I'm trying to say is, there was a huge blessing in all this experience because it took me to a place. It made me look like Guruji is saying, use the experience to look. So that's what happened, and it wasn't immediate like this. It took some looking, and it was like what I thought was already clean. It was so deeply embedded, but it was like gift from God before birth. So this is what brings me also to him, and it is.
Very good, very good.
And
We must use it this way. We must use it this way to deepen in our insight, to deepen in it becoming apparent as to what is being hidden inside us. The beautiful thing about this human life is that when these situations come, like at least I cannot say whether I am truly on Jesus' side or am I on the attacker side. Which one am I? Can't really say. We always presume, of course, but everyone presumes they are on the right side. Some beautiful thing to consider. Really, like Kabirji said, बुरा जो देखन में चला बुरा ना मिला कोई जब देखा अपने आप को मुझसे बुरा ना कोई. Saying that I went looking for that for those who are sinful, evil, bad. I didn't find anyone, he says. I didn't find anyone. Till I looked inside myself and I said that no one can be worse than this one. How is it that such a great sage is saying that? See, because there comes a point in which even the slightest afflictions of our heart become intolerable. They become intolerable to us, and they seem like the biggest mistakes, the biggest error. Sometimes I sit and wonder, what will make me really humble? Because true humility just doesn't come. So I wonder, and I was feeling like maybe just some humiliation needs to happen every day. For humility to come. Something. See, because the pretense, the teacher conditioning doesn't drop, the pretense doesn't go. True humility of being completely naked and surrendered to Him is not coming. See, and that creates a sort of fig leaf between Him and me. So let the attackers come, because they can only attack my pride. They cannot attack that which is sacred in my heart, that is beyond attacking. Thank you. Thank you.
Father, may I say something more?
Yes,
Not
yes,
long.
yes.
Yes, when I was looking, it was discovered it was again the pride that was used as a protection in moments of survival. So pride or arrogance. So that was really precious. And also what you've been just saying, then I felt I finally, it looked like I lived the humble beggar's prayer, that I lived the words, they were just resonating, and it was very precious. And I just want to again just leave this everything at your feet, and whatever is there left, not whatever is there left, all this love and 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 calling for God. I'll leave it at your feet, all of this, and all this I that is imagined,
Yes.
and because still I live in God's light. No, till there is only God's light, permanent and fully realized. There is always this movement. So I just may all this I and everything be just burn in Him.
Very, very good. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Thank you all.